the PGA realized that it could not afford to fight the legal fight, which is $50 million, and the extra prize money, which is perhaps another $100 million, to take on the LIV, and so they agreed a merger of sorts.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with Editor-in-Chief Hugo Gurdon. And Hugo, there's a lot of consternation about this marriage of the PGA and the LIV Golf organizations. As the U.S. Open gets underway, how's that going over with players, with fans?
Well, it's an enormous controversy. It's perhaps been the biggest controversy in sport for the past year. Without getting too much into the history, the LIV Golf, which is financed by the Saudi Arabians, broke away from the PGA, taking a number of very high-profile players with them somewhat more than a year ago, paid them far more than the players get with the PGA. And for a year, there's been an enormously bitter row. And then just this month, the PGA realized that it could not afford to fight the legal fight, which is $50 million, and the extra prize money, which is perhaps another $100 million, to take on the LIV, and so they agreed a merger of sorts with LIV. And they had been denouncing LIV as mercenary and as the whole organization as what they call sports washing, the Saudis' terrible human rights reputation, et cetera, and then suddenly they've done a 180 and they've joined up, and the players from the PGA and LIV are now teeing up, at the US Open together in the immediate aftermath of this merger, and everyone is thinking, my goodness, what is going on with this game?
There's got to be some awkward moments at
Absolutely,
the tee box.
Yeah.
Senator Richard Blumenthal, a Democrat, has taken an interest in this merger.
Right.
What is the sort of political angle to it?
Well, the politics I touched on. First of all, the Saudi Arabians have they're no good on human rights. I mean, they're civil rights, et cetera. But the alliances in the Middle East for the United States have been in a state of flux and high dispute for going on 10 years. You'll remember that President Barack Obama wanted to get a deal with Iran on nuclear weapons, nuclear development. For years, decades before that, the United States' principal ally in the Middle East was Saudi Arabia, and the Saudis and other Arabs in close proximity to Iran were extremely alarmed by this sudden change. And then President Trump abandoned the nuke deal with Iran, reinforced relations with Saudi Arabia. But now, with the Democrat President Biden in the White House, he has tried to revive the Iran deal, and the Saudi Arabians are actually, they're kind of cozying up with China and with Russia. So there's a lot of American anxiety about the Middle East, and the Democrats in particular dislike the Saudi Arabians. In 2018, there was an extraordinary assassination of a man called Jamal Khashoggi, who wrote for the Washington Post, and it's been reliably blamed on Saudi Arabia. And that has given, as it were, ex post facto justification and to the Democrats' real abhorrence for Saudi Arabia. So Senator Blumenthal wants to look into this extraordinary 180 that the PGA did, and he talks about the PGA being a cherished institution, and suddenly it's now getting, emerging with this essentially this nation which he and other Democrats loathe, and he wants to look into it. But it's very difficult to see what the Congress's role in it. It's very difficult to argue that golf is somehow a national security issue, much as you might cherish the game. And the other aspect of it, which is sort of intriguing, is sometimes the merger of two companies which essentially control a sport or a business will be looked at for antitrust monopoly reasons. But it's a bit difficult to argue that you're worried about the antitrust and monopoly reasons, aspects of this merger, if you weren't troubled before when it was all the PGA and the LIV didn't exist. So I think it's very difficult to see what the congressional role is.
So I think it's safe to say you think it's sort of futile to, at this point, protest the merger.
Yeah, I think it's futile to the extent that you're not going to be able to, it's all over bar the shouting. I can't see what anyone is going to be able to do about it. But I do think that, it perhaps enhances Senator Blumenthal's reputation to make a fuss about it.
Well, Hugo, thanks for being here today. You can get more writing from Hugo and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.